Last time Jiwoo and Kayden faced down a monster cat in a dark alley. Now something stranger is already in the air. A dark-haired figure with red-framed glasses freezes mid-step, sniffing the air with a single cryptic thought. Banana bread. Across a dimly lit gymnasium, a silver-haired figure stands over another character, holding a steaming loaf, and when their eyes meet, both faces go wide with something that looks almost like recognition or dread. Night has settled over the facility, and a blue-haired woman is already on edge. So when a white-haired man named Min materializes behind her, clutching a steaming pot in floral oven mitts, she screams. He barely reacts, calm as stone. But his next words cut through her embarrassment like a blade. He felt a surge of energy radiating from the gym. Her eyes go wide behind those red glasses. Something happened in there. Min, the tall, silver-haired figure in his white shirt and blue tie, cheerfully explains himself. He was hungry, so he raided the communal pantry and just baked something. There's still faint smoke rising from the tray. The blue-haired girl with glasses stares at him like he's grown a second head, muttering that this absolutely does not match his image. Then her stomach growls, loudly. And suddenly, the bread smells very, very good. Pride gone, dignity irrelevant. The dark-haired girl in red glasses bites into the bread with complete abandon. The crunch practically echoes through the dim stairwell. And when she finally comes up for air, sitting side by side with Min on the steps, she declares him her absolute savior. The food is incredible, she says. Way better than her thumb, which apparently she had been chewing on before this. Hunger does strange things to people. On the red bleachers of the darkened gym, Min sits with tear streaks visible on his face, quiet, worn down in a way that goes beyond exhaustion. He gently tells Sayeon not to eat any more of the banana bread. He's saving it for someone named Isol. Sayeon watches him carefully over her piece of bread, turning him over in her mind. He looks, she thinks, like someone who's done 10 years at a federal penitentiary. Who exactly is this person sitting beside her? The blue-haired woman turns Min over in her thoughts. Talking to him, she reflects, is oddly like talking to a child in some ways, despite her assumption that he must be older. He sits close, holding his pot with those ridiculous floral mitts, watching her with quiet intensity. There's a brief, almost playful moment where she mimics eating. Then the mood shifts. She looks him dead in the eye and asks him to teach her how to fight using essence. Just like that, serious. The blue-haired boy leans forward in the dim room, his tone direct and unsparing. He tells the white-haired figure that they're not exactly great at controlling their abilities. The white-haired one bristles, defensive. But the blue-haired character continues, recounting advice someone once gave him about finding a trigger, channeling all energy into a single movement. Then comes a flashback. A figure crackling with bright green energy, arm blazing, power raging out of control. Control, it seems, is the hardest thing. Sayeon stands across from Min in the stark training room, her expression serious and unyielding. She asks who taught him to fight. Min's answer stops her cold. He taught himself. No mentor, no guidance, just survival. And when he explains that his only reliable trigger is the moment before he intends to hurt someone, his expression hardens into something complicated and painful. Sayeon doesn't flinch, but she tells him plainly, he is not ready to be trained. Not yet. Sayeon lays it out with brutal clarity. They are going to be in mortal danger every single day for the next 2 weeks, or until they die, whichever comes first. Her voice doesn't waver. As both of them descend the metal staircase of the gymnasium, footsteps ringing through the silence, she sets the terms. If Min can land a punch on her, she'll teach him about essence. His eyes burn with desperation. He has to learn. He has no other choice. Sayeon stands in the gym, replaying what she just heard, her mind looping on the absurdity of it. He wants her to punch him. Min climbs the red bleachers slowly, his white hair catching the sparse light, a faint scar visible near his eye. She calls after him, voice uncertain, punch him. Anywhere. He doesn't turn around fully, just says yes. That single word, delivered in complete calm, makes the request feel all the more unsettling. The blue-haired character adjusts his glasses and delivers the verdict with quiet conviction. She's weak, and she won't be able to do it. Across from him, A brown-haired boy throws his hand up with boundless enthusiasm, insisting he feels completely capable. And a reddish-haired kid with a bandage on his face grins like the whole thing is a fantastic adventure. The blue-haired one just thinks to himself, Min's probably right. The levity doesn't last long. Sayeon's blue eyes flare to life behind her red glasses, and she smiles like someone who has already calculated 3 moves ahead. She only needs to land one hit. 1. Min acknowledges that she's managed to activate her essence and issues the challenge. Go on, then. They square off on the elevated platform, the room stripped bare around them. And then Sayeon notices something that makes her confidence flicker. Min isn't even activating his own essence. He doesn't think he'll need to. In a sunlit gym, a reddish-brown-haired figure in a sleeveless jacket declares that teaching self-defense is the least he can do. She tutors him in math. He'll teach her to throw a punch. It's only fair. Sayeon squares up into a boxing stance and swings, the movement accompanied by a sharp sound effect and her own internal cringe at how awkward the whole thing feels. Nearby, Min watches with a silver-haired calm, his low ponytail still, his expression unreadable. Sayeon has made her decision, there's no other option. She opens with a wild, sweeping swing aimed directly at Min's head, the whoosh cutting through the air, completely telegraphed, completely obvious. That's the point. While Min begins to comment on her sloppy technique, she's already moving, and before he can finish his sentence, her fist connects. Sharp, clean. Min's head snaps back. For one stunned moment, he doesn't move. But Min is faster than he looks. He flows backward away from a follow-up strike, hand tapping the floor with practiced precision, body shifting in a fluid arc as Sayeon's punch overshoots. He lands heavy but controlled. And when Sayeon locks eyes with him again, hers are blazing blue through her red-framed glasses, fists clenched, body rigid with focus. The atmosphere in this sparse training room has gone electric. This is no longer a lesson. This is a fight. Min hunches in the dim corridor, one glowing blue eye fixed ahead, his internal voice breaking with disbelief. Where did this person come from? He asked to be punched, and now he can't land a single hit. The frustration is real, raw, almost absurd. Then the chapter title card drops, Hand Jumper 22 Fight Club, and the scene cuts to a brown-haired man in a warm bedroom, clutching a pillow the size of a small child, asking with exhausted sincerity, "Can they please stop now?" Sayeon crosses her arms in the gymnasium and delivers her skepticism plainly. She doesn't see how punching pillows is going to help her in any real situation. She's not built for this. The reddish-brown-haired instructor pushes back without missing a beat, insisting she's a fast learner. She already figured out how a French horn works, didn't she? As if on cue, he swings dramatically into a demonstration and lands with a thunderous thwump. His enthusiasm is genuine. Her expression says she remains unconvinced. Sayeon's mind drifts, a flashback surfaces. She's smiling on a sunlit path, telling herself that her physical strength doesn't matter. She's going to law school. None of this will ever be relevant to her real life. Back in the present, one blue eye glows with sharp intensity. She forces herself to reframe everything. This fight with Min is a puzzle. She doesn't need to overpower him. She just needs to land one touch. That's all. One touch changes everything. Min's white-haired opponent stops her mid-motion and cuts right to the core issue. She doesn't punch with her ears, does she? Sayeon blinks, confused. He explains. Right now, her essence is circulating evenly through her entire body, diffuse and unfocused. To punch, she needs to concentrate it into her arm. The words trigger a memory, a rogue aberrant blazing with green essence, arm alight with power, the sound of an impact like a thunderclap. Suddenly, the lesson clicks. Min watches a dark-cloaked opponent with white hair and burning red eyes blur across the room at impossible speed, and deduces the mechanism instantly. Essence diverted into the legs. Min decides to try it himself. He closes his eyes, visualizes the flow of energy coursing through him, then bends it, forces it down into his legs. Light blue energy ignites around his body, and then he moves. The burst of speed leaves swirling trails of light hanging in the air behind him. The white-haired character's eyes flash green, essence activated. Then Sayeon explodes into motion, launching a fierce kick with blue energy blazing in her own eyes. She skids low across the floor with a sharp cry of surprise at her own momentum, blue light trailing behind her like a comet's tail. But as she steadies herself, glowing eyes fixed forward, one thought rings triumphant in her mind. She got him to activate his essence, exactly as planned. The white-haired figure replays what just happened, his green-tinted eyes blank with disbelief. Min was fast before, but what he just witnessed was something beyond fast, something almost inhuman. And Sayeon, watching through her glasses, knows exactly what it means for her. Her inner voice is bleak and clinical. This is a perfect example of a situation where her gift is almost completely useless. One variable, one opponent, and he's operating outside the bounds of anything she can predict. Sayeon's gift activates, glowing blue lines trace her eyes, and above her head, a spinning clock materializes, time bending to her will. She explains it internally. Her power thrives in chaos, in environments stuffed with variables, objects, people, motion. When she replays a situation, she can manipulate those variables to tilt the outcome in her favor. More variables, more options. But this gym is almost completely empty. The only variable she has left is herself. The white-haired opponent reads her clearly. She isn't attacking, only reacting, letting him set the tempo. So Min decides to shatter the pattern entirely. He throws himself forward, blue energy flaring with the word faster burning through his mind, accelerating through the space like a missile seeking a target. His eye blazes. His speed climbs. He tells himself he needs to go faster still, and finally launches a devastating kick toward his white-haired adversary, both of them moving at near-inhuman velocities. The white-haired character grips the railing of the upper balcony, green eyes flashing, and then deliberately tips himself over the edge. Sayeon, watching from above, her own eyes glowing pale blue, can only manage a stunned "eh." As he drops headfirst from the upper level of the gym, he plummets and lands in a deep controlled crouch on the floor below, the impact thunderous, deliberate, controlled. This man just fell from a significant height, on purpose. Sayeon gives chase, blue-eyed, manic grinned, leaping over a railing with a shout that he's not getting away. And then she looks down. The height hits her like a wall of ice. She's on a narrow ledge in a vast, dark interior, and the floor is very, very far below. Her foot slips. Her shout turns into a scream. She's falling, blue eyes flickering with pure terror as she plummets, voice breaking mid-sentence into desperate, unfinished fragments of panic. The landing comes with a crack and a thump that reverberates through the wooden floor. Sayeon, now Min, the blue-haired character, is immediately on hands and knees, clutching his ankle in genuine agony, voice reduced to a string of pained sounds. Across the room, the white-haired character with the scar on his left cheek watches with glowing green eyes and complete stillness. No alarm, no rush, just an ellipsis of silence as Min trembles on the floor, clutching his leg. Min sits on the floor in the dim room, wincing as he looks at his ankle, genuinely confused. Shouldn't it be healing by itself? The white-haired opponent kneels beside him, expression a mixture of concern and exasperation. Healing isn't automatic, he explains. Min has to direct the essence, tell it where to go, the same way he did with his legs earlier during the fight. Min winces, processes this, and offers a shaky okay. He is going to have to heal himself. Right now. Min grits his teeth on the gym floor, eyes squeezed shut, red lines of strain framing his face. He's trying to focus, but his essence simply isn't responding. He can't concentrate through the pain. The white-haired character stands over him, then kneels, voice dropping into something quieter and more measured as he asks if Min is struggling. Then, with a soft sound, hup, he lifts Min entirely off the floor, cradling him in both arms and carrying him out of the gym. Gently. In a dim corridor, the blue-haired man holds Min carefully and speaks with quiet urgency. He'll take her to the medical office, where aberrants with yellow insignia can mend the ankle. But the blue-haired woman in his arms is tense, her posture coiled tight with something more than physical pain. She grabs his arm suddenly. And then a single tear slides down his cheek. Unhidden, unexpected. A moment of vulnerability so quiet it almost disappears before you notice it. And then Sayeon grins, Full fangs, glowing red eyes. The ankle, she announces cheerfully, is completely fine now. Min freezes, white eyes wide, mouth slightly open, the picture of someone whose entire read of the situation just collapsed. She reminds him, still smiling that dangerous smile, that she landed a hit during the fight. So by the terms they agreed to, she wins. The gymnasium holds the silence of a word neither of them has said yet. What happens next? A voice cuts through the dark like a blade, calling someone's thinking too clean, too simple, too much like a boy who still believes in rules. And there he is, a light-haired young man, wrists pinned to a cracked wall by blades, blood running down his face, asking weakly if he means by the book. The reply is merciless. The voice calls him a moron. Outside, in an alley near a white van, a dark-haired figure with blade-like arm attachments crashes down. Someone has lost. Badly. A light-haired man in a beige outfit spins a flame lazily in his palm, the smile of someone who is deeply enjoying this. He speaks in the easy tone of a man revealing a rule of the world that people assume in others whatever they believe about themselves. A liar trusts no one. A traitor never turns his back. A man who shows emotion is a fool. Across from him, a red-hooded woman wraps her arms around herself, listening. Behind her, a blue-suited figure lurks in shadow. Nobody here is safe. A hand flicks one sharp, casual motion, and a figure with blonde hair stumbles back, eyes wide with shock. A voice, calm and almost bored, reminds them of the deal. Try to punch me, and if you land a hit, I'll spare your life. A shadowy silhouette looms with glowing eyes and a smile that belongs on the face of something that has never once been afraid. The implication is clear. The hit was not landed, and a life is now forfeit. The golden-eyed blonde delivers the verdict with cold precision. Someone played fair. Someone else did not. And the one who didn't play fair will now pay the price. But in the present, the tone shifts completely. Sayeon sits curled against the white-haired figure, glasses on, knees drawn up, replaying the fight. She landed right at his feet, she says, and there's something almost playful in how she says it. The white-haired man watches her with an expression that holds no easy answer. The pale-haired young man sets his passenger down, a little more abruptly than intended, and the dark-haired character with glasses makes sure he knows it. He didn't need to just drop him. The pale-haired figure acknowledges this with a flat admission that it's true. Then the shorter one flashes a sly smirk and points out that his ankle is, in fact, completely healed. The pale-haired one stares for a moment, then exhales, something like relief moving through his expression. He didn't believe it until now. The pale-haired man replays what he missed in the flashback. Sayeon is on the floor, clutching her ankle, and he's telling her to focus. Now in the present, he works through the deduction out loud. She closed her eyes so he couldn't see her essence activate, and she faked the sprain entirely, on purpose. Sayeon's expression snaps into wide-eyed alarm, the kind that only appears when someone realizes they've been caught. Her legs, standing perfectly upright, confirm everything. She played him. Sayeon admits it with disarming straightforwardness. He's not much of an actor, genuinely sprained the wrist, but did it deliberately. Because the white-haired figure was too fast, too precise, and Sayeon was still completely new to activating essence under pressure. It was the only path to a win. He says it almost apologetically, hands raised slightly, reading the other person's expression for warning signs. The darker-haired figure processes this with a face that reveals very little, but clearly feels something. Sayeon stands his ground, voice steady. It was the only situation he could manufacture that would actually challenge the match. Maybe slightly unfair, he concedes. Maybe. The blonde with golden eyes, glimpsed in shadow, insists with intensity that someone played fair and someone did not. The white-haired figure counters simply, "No, you win." Then quietly adds that he should have sensed something was wrong the moment he picked Sayeon up. The regret in that sentence lands heavier than any punch. The pale-haired man carries Sayeon still seated on his lap, as though that is a perfectly natural arrangement, and explains himself. He didn't sense the deception because Sayeon didn't behave like someone in pain. That's his failing, not hers. Then stepping across the gymnasium floor with a soft sound, he delivers his verdict. "Come back tomorrow night. He'll teach her then." Sayeon blinks. "Why not tonight? It's not that late." The pale-haired figure offers no further explanation. Sayeon flinches as something pokes his side, and the memory floods back. The silver-haired man pointing at him as he flails, the momentum of the day finally catching up. Then the vision shifts to the wooden floor, and the silver-haired man's voice rings with sorrowful clarity. He's exhausted his essence. He needs to rest. Sayeon collapses onto the floor, completely spent. The silver-haired man's footsteps recede slowly across the gymnasium, and the room goes very quiet. Something creaks. A shadowy figure moves beyond the glass doors of the building, a silhouette that shouldn't be there. Inside, the blue-haired young man sits on the gym floor with a sly, self-aware smile, noting that he did burn through a lot of essence today. Then the memory surfaces, the moment he was shot, and before he can finish the thought, a voice rings out sharply across the space. Sayeon, urgent, alarmed, whoever is out there. This is not a social call. Sayeon recounts her record against real threats. She reversed something involving a figure named Ryujin, a moment punctuated by an abstract bang of impact. That's the victory column. But then her voice changes. Against the scarred man in the warehouse, she could do absolutely nothing. Not a single thing. She clutches her own arms as she says it, standing in a scene drenched in rain, and behind her a dark-haired man walks away trailing green essence from his arm. The gap between what she can do and what she needs to do is terrifying. Rain hammers down outside, shhe, as a man in a red jacket stands alone in the downpour, gesturing loosely and announcing to someone named Bennett that it's all official now. He tells himself it's fine. At least he can do this one thing for his brother. Inside, the dark-haired character with glasses grins with sudden excitement over a drink. And somewhere else, a pale-haired character's face twists into barely controlled fury as he demands to know what his sister was doing at that warehouse. The pieces are moving, and not everyone knows which game they're in. The chapter closes on a credit page, the creator's handle, the editor's name, the color assist. A stylized fox-headed figure in a sharp dark suit stares out from the center of the page, red tie perfectly knotted. At the bottom, a pronunciation guide lists the names: Sayeon Lee, Seul Kim, Ryujin Kang, names spoken carefully, as if getting them right matters, as if these people are real. And after everything this chapter revealed, maybe they feel like they are.